How did a small, rainy island off the coast of Europe end up ruling a quarter of the planet? The British Empire reshaped the world with ships, trade, war, and ambition, spreading its power across continents and cultures. But nothing lasts forever. Buckle up. This is the wild rise and dramatic fall of history's biggest empire. It starts not with a king, but with a fisherman's son from Genoa. In 1497, John Cabot sails west under the English flag and lands in Newfoundland. It's a quiet arrival. No gold, no glory, but it plants a seed. While Spain and Portugal carve up the new world, England watches, learns, and waits. Then comes Henry VIII, ambitious, impulsive, obsessed with power. He breaks from the Catholic Church, takes control of England's destiny, and builds up a navy to defend it. His daughter, Elizabeth I, takes it even further. Under her rule, the seas become England's playground. Pirates turn into patriots. Francis Drake, John Hawkins, and other privateers raid Spanish ships, capture treasure, and map unknown lands, all with royal approval. England doesn't just want to explore anymore, it wants to compete. In 1588, the Spanish Armada sails to crush England and fails. The Royal Navy proves its worth, and England realizes something crucial. Control the seas, and you can control the world. By 1600, it's no longer just about adventure. The British East India Company is born, a trading venture with guns, ships, and a license to rule. It begins quietly, selling spices and silk, but behind its polite paperwork lies the engine of empire. The spark has been lit. The British Empire is no longer just an idea. It's boots on the ground and sails on every sea. In the Americas, they claim 13 colonies from Massachusetts to Georgia. In the Caribbean, sugar plantations turned Jamaica and Barbados into gold mines. Powered by enslaved Africans, bought and brutalized through the booming transatlantic slave trade. Across the globe, British ports spring up. Calcutta in India, Cape Coast in Africa, and dozens more, all feeding back into the heart of the empire, London. Trade means profit, but it also means war. Britain fights the Dutch for control of sea lanes, clashes with the Spanish in the Caribbean, and locks horns with the French in nearly every corner of the world. The War of Spanish Succession, King George's War, the War of Austrian Succession. They're long, brutal, and often confusing, but Britain keeps gaining ground. Then comes the 7 Years' War, the first truly global conflict. From 1756 to 1763, British and French forces battle across Europe, North America, India, and the seas in between. When the smoke clears, Britain stands tall. They take Canada from France, drive the French out of India, and become the dominant naval and colonial power on Earth. But empires come with a cost, and not just in gold. By the 1770s, Britain's American colonies are growing restless. Taxes, trade restrictions, and a sense of being second-class citizens spark outrage. The result? A revolution. In 1776, 13 colonies declare independence. In 1783, the unthinkable happens. Britain loses America. 13 rebellious colonies break away, and the empire takes its first major punch. It's humiliating. But Britain doesn't sulk. It pivots. Eyes shift east to India, where trade has already turned into something more. The British East India Company stops pretending to be just a business. It's collecting taxes, commanding armies, and crushing resistance. In 1799, Tipu Sultan, one of the last powerful Indian rulers, falls in battle. The message is clear. Britain isn't here to negotiate, it's here to rule. By 1805, Lord Wellesley declares British paramountcy, a fancy way of saying, we're in charge now. The Mughal Empire still exists on paper, but the power is firmly British. Meanwhile, in Europe, Napoleon is raging across the continent. Britain fights him at sea, funds his enemies, and finally helps defeat him in 1815. When the dust settles, Britain stands alone, rich, victorious, and unchallenged. America may be lost, but a new empire is rising, bigger, bolder, and hungrier. The Second Empire has begun. Napoleon is gone, Europe is quiet, and Britain is everywhere. This is Pax Britannica, a century of global dominance where British power doesn't just grow, it defines the world. The Royal Navy owns the seas, London becomes the financial capital of the planet, and trade flows in every direction. Spices, tea, cotton, opium, silver, all under the Union Jack. The empire expands fast. Australia, Canada, South Africa, Singapore, Hong Kong, New Zealand, huge chunks of Africa. The map turns red. And at the heart of it all is India, the jewel in the crown, a subcontinent run with military precision and bureaucratic control. Railways snake across colonies, telegraph lines connect distant coasts. English becomes a global language, and British schools, courts, cricket teams, and customs pop up everywhere. In 1876, Queen Victoria is crowned Empress of India. The monarchy becomes imperial. The empire becomes unstoppable. But all is not well beneath the surface. Famine kills millions in India. Native traditions are erased, and resistance brews quietly. Back home, not everyone supports the empire's cost, or its cruelty. Still, by the early 1900s, the British Empire is the largest in history. 1/4 of the world's land, 1/5 of its people. But beneath the surface, cracks were forming. It starts in India. In 1857, Indian soldiers, sepoys, rise up against their British officers. What begins as a mutiny becomes a nationwide rebellion. The British crush it, brutally, but something changes forever. The East India Company is finished, Queen Victoria takes direct control, and the British Raj is born. But control doesn't mean peace. In South Africa, the Zulu fight back. In Sudan, the Mahdi leads a holy war. In Ireland, rebellion smolders for decades. The empire puts out fire after fire with rifles and redcoats. By the late 1800s, new threats emerge, not from inside the empire, but from outside. Germany, the United States, and Japan are rising fast. They want colonies, influence, power. Britain feels the pressure and starts to slip. Inside the empire, resistance grows louder. Not just rebellion, but ideas. Gandhi in India, home rule in Ireland. Movements rise, not with weapons, but with words, marches, and demands for self-rule. World War I hits like a hammer. Britain wins, barely, but it's a hollow victory. Millions dead, massive debt, and the myth of invincibility cracked. Still, Britain clings to its empire. But in the shadows, change is coming, and it can't be stopped. World War II might have been a victory, but for the British Empire, it was the beginning of the end. The war left Britain broke, battered, and exhausted. It could no longer afford to hold on to its vast empire, and the people under its rule knew it. India was first. In 1947, after years of protests, civil disobedience, and negotiations led by Gandhi and Nehru, Britain let go, but not without chaos. Partition split the land into India and Pakistan, and the division sparked violence, bloodshed, and one of the largest mass migrations in history. The floodgates opened. Over the next few decades, the empire unraveled. Kenya, Malaya, Jamaica, Cyprus, colony after colony declared independence. Some transitions were peaceful, others were bloody and bitter, but the tide was unstoppable. Then came the Suez Crisis in 1956. When Egypt nationalized the Suez Canal, Britain tried to take it back by force and failed. The United States didn't back them. The world had changed. Britain was no longer calling the shots. By 1997, with the handover of Hong Kong to China, the empire was officially over. What began with trading posts and privateers had ended in treaties and flag-lowering ceremonies. But the British Empire left behind more than fading maps. English became a global language. Parliamentary democracy and British-style law took root in dozens of nations. The Commonwealth, a voluntary club of former colonies, now connects 56 countries. Railways, tea, sports, education, echoes of empire still shape the modern world. So how did one small island rule so much of the world? Ships, trade, ambition, and a ruthless grip on power. And why did it fall? Because no empire can outrun time, rebellion, and change. The sun set, but the shadow of the British Empire still lingers. Thanks for watching. Hit subscribe if you want more epic history, and tell me in the comments, which empire should we dive into next?